Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard about all the controversy surrounding Escape from Tarkov the last week or so. Escape from Tarkov is an extraction shooter made by a development company called Battlestate Games, which is based out of Russia. And the game honestly has had kind of a tumultuous, like a little bit of a roller coaster of a development cycle. It's been a long time. This game's been in beta for a while now, for like 7 years at this point. And there's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. It hasn't really been consistent. But still to this day, there's no other game really on the market that offers something quite like Tarkov does. A really hardcore, authentic, and immersive milsim-ish hardcore extraction shooter kind of game. And last week, Battlestate Games got the entire community, all of their customers up in arms because they decided to release a new version of the game, a new package that you can pay to download. Traditionally, Tarkov has come in a few different bundles that you can buy. There was like the standard edition, and then there was an edition of the game called Edge of Darkness, which I actually purchased. A lot of people purchased Edge of Darkness edition. And basically what that edition of the game gave you was the max size stash as a starter, a little bit more starting gear, and some small perks like that. But it also came with a promise that you would get access to every single piece of DLC and future content that would come with Escape from Tarkov in the future. So any additional DLC, any additional content that they plan on releasing for the game, you were in. You were promised that for free. You didn't have to pay any additional cost to get those. But then, over the course of the last couple of weeks, Battlestate Games discontinued the EOD edition, so you're no longer able to buy it. And then they put out a new edition of the game called the Unheard Edition. But they put in a whole bunch of new features that would be included with this new Unheard Edition, including a new offline co-op mode you could play with your friends. It's PvE only, but it's co-op. You can go in and play with your friends. And all of these new perks are only available for the Unheard Edition of the game. If you originally bought EOD anytime it was available in the past, you will not get access to any of these new features. And this pissed everybody off, including myself. I'm in a pretty sour mood about this whole thing. I think this is a huge fuck up on Battlestate Games' part. This is pure greed, plain and simple. It's plainly screwing over their player base purely for money, for monetary gain. That's all this is. This was not a mistake. This was a calculated decision, and they decided to screw over their audience for a little bit more money. So if you're as pissed off as I am, you can probably hear how irritated and just straight up angry that I am in the tone of my voice right now. You're probably looking for some other options, some other extraction shooters that you can jump into while you're not playing Escape from Tarkov. So I'm going to give you a list of 10 extraction shooters that you can play right now or that are upcoming that you can play instead of Escape from Tarkov. Let's get right into the list. Starting off with number 1, this is a game that's really near and dear to my heart. This is the game that my channel is really known for. Zero. This game came out in early access just over a year ago, and it's a top-down kind of pixel art extraction shooter. It's inspired by Escape from Tarkov and Stalker, actually. The whole gameplay loop works a lot like Escape from Tarkov. You start in a safe area, or a bunker where you have your persistent stash, and there's a bunch of traders that you can talk to and buy gear from. You outfit your character, you put some armor on, you customize your weapons, you equip them, and you bring in things like meds and food and support items. You accept quests from the traders, and then you go into a raid and you complete those quests. You fight enemies. It's PvE only. There's no PvP, and there's no co-op, unfortunately. There's a few boss characters for you to go up against, which are actually pretty difficult. One of them is directly inspired by Killa from Escape from Tarkov. His name is Kiba in Zero, and he does live on a map inspired by a shopping mall. Anyway, Zero is a really fun game. I've been playing this one forever. I have tons of content on it, tons of videos, and it's a really fun extraction shooter. There's like human NPCs you can fight against. There's monsters too. That's kind of the Stalker influence, and there's anomalies. You can throw bolts to search out for anomalies in anomaly fields. And it's a really, really fun extraction shooter if you're willing to play something that isn't an FPS. It's more of a isometric, top-down pixel art shooter. Number 2 on the list is Call of Duty DMZ. Now, I'm not really a DMZ player. I don't know a whole lot about this game. I am aware that Activision is no longer supporting this game mode throughout 2024, but the servers are still online and you can jump in and play it with your friends if you want. Obviously, this is Call of Duty. It's not going to be as hardcore as something like Escape from Tarkov, but it is PvP and PvE. There are like in-game assignments or pseudo quests that you can go in and complete. And DMZ seems like a really good kind of mainstream option. It's on a lot of platforms. It's very widely accessible. You can play it on PC or console. Gunplay is classic Modern Warfare. There's loads of weapon customization, lots of cosmetics. And yeah, DMZ I feel like is a really good mainstream option for you and your buddies to jump in no matter what console you're using or what platform you're playing on. Number 3 is a game that I actually did a video on a little while back. It's changed a lot since I did that video though. It used to be called Project Quarantine, but then it kind of underwent some design changes and a new kind of development direction. It's now called Incursion Red River. It's only available on Steam at the moment. It's a co-op PvE extraction shooter, so you can play this with your friends. And the game takes place in war-torn, like modern-day Vietnam. As far as gameplay loop, it works a lot like Escape from Tarkov. You gear up with your buddies in your stash, you equip your armor, weapons, ammo, magazines, all that kind of stuff, and then you jump into raid. As far as I know, there's only one map available. I haven't played the current version of the game yet. I do plan on making some content on this one. But out of all the games on this list, I feel like this one is the most closely related to Tarkov in like overall feel and overall tone. It's highly militaristic, but also very hardcore. It's not quite like DMZ. It's not like arcadey Call of Duty style. It's very hardcore. And as of today, it's sitting at a mostly positive review score on Steam. So I think this one is really worth checking out. If you're really into hardcore shooters, you really miss Tarkov, and you want something as similar as possible, I think this is probably your best option out of all the games on this list. Number 4 is a game that's been out for a while at this point, Hunt Showdown. Hunt Showdown is like if Escape from Tarkov was a Western and there was like a supernatural aspect to it. It's a very bizarre game world, a very bizarre like set of characters and NPCs. I'm not a Hunt Showdown player, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think you collect characters, you collect hunters, which are the characters you play as, and they come with like different skills, different attributes and stuff, and then you can also equip them with different buffs before you go in. So the idea for Hunt Showdown is you equip your hunter, you go in solo or with some friends. This is a PvPvE extraction shooter, so you will be going up against other players. And the objective in each raid is to find like a big bad monster or like boss monsters, hunt them down, kill them, absorb their souls, and try to extract with their souls to get the most points or whatever. Hunt Showdown is available on a lot of platforms. It's available on PC, and I believe it's available on console too. I think you can get it on PS5 and Xbox. And it is a very intense extraction shooter. It's very atmospheric. The environment is really cool, and if you want to feel like a cowboy, this is your best option right here. Number 5 is kind of a feel-good classic. This one's been out for a while too, and it's about to come out with a new season of content soon, I believe. Deep Rock Galactic is a pseudo-extraction shooter. It's not quite the same as far as Tarkov goes. If you die in this game, you don't really lose any of your gear. You just you respawn and you go in and play the next one. But you squad up with some friends. It's mainly supposed to be played as a squad. You can play it solo if you like, but it's definitely, this game is definitely enjoyed best in a squad. Everybody picks a different dwarf to play. Each one of the dwarves come with a different kind of loadout. There's one with a flamethrower. There's another with an assault rifle. There's another with like a minigun. And each one comes with their own like tactical devices or special items too. So like the scout has a grappling hook and a gun that shoots like flare spikes that you can shoot into the walls and illuminate the areas around you. The driller is equipped with these drilling gloves where you can drill through the rock and make custom pathways to get around the map more easily. And the gameplay loop is that you and your buddies drop into this procedurally generated world, which is inside of an asteroid where a bunch of AI bugs live, and you have to go in and shoot all the bugs and complete different kinds of objectives in the world depending on what mission you're doing. Go in, complete those objectives, fight and kill bugs of all kinds of different sizes and difficulties. There are lots of like different boss bug characters. Again, depending on what mission you're doing, there's different resources that you can collect to unlock different abilities and perks for your characters and cosmetics and stuff. And honestly, this game is one of my favorites on the list. This game is just so wholesome. The community is amazing for this game. The game itself plays really well. It's easy to run on any machine, really. It is available on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Gameplay is really solid. The shooting feels really good. I love the differences between all the characters, the different loadouts you can use. And this is just kind of a feel-good co-op extraction, pseudo-extraction shooter for you and your friends to play. This one is really wholesome, really fun, and I can highly recommend it. Number 6 on the list is a game that I don't have a lot of experience with, but this has been a really popular choice in the last couple of years for gamers. Marauders is still in early access. It's only available on PC at the moment. This one is a sci-fi kind of retro future extraction shooter with a little bit of vehicle combat mechanics. So the whole thing takes place in space. Again, I don't have a lot of experience playing this game. Players jump into a map, and the map is a giant kind of area of space where you can fly around pretty much anywhere you want in your little spaceship. And there's a giant space station in the middle where everybody can go in on foot and fight for loot, for gear, complete objectives, and that kind of thing. But again, there is a vehicle combat aspect to it, so if you want to stay out in space and fight other players in your spaceships, you can. Your spaceships are equipped with weapons like rocket cannons and that kind of thing, and you can fight and shoot at other players in your spaceship. It is possible to disable other players' spaceships and then dock with them to try and commandeer their spaceships too. It really feels like there's a lot on the line when somebody can disable you and basically steal your spaceship from you. The weapons and the gunplay are all based around like early 20th century weaponry, like old World War II style weapons, but in a sci-fi setting. It's a really unique game. Number 7 is kind of a sleeper, and there's actually a lot going on with this game at the moment. Arena Breakout is actually a mobile game. You can download this on your phone and play this. And this is an honest-to-goodness extraction shooter. It's PvPvE. This is a lot like Escape from Tarkov. It's highly militarized. You can go in and customize your weapons a lot like you can in Escape from Tarkov. The loot that you can acquire is a lot like Escape from Tarkov too. There's a lot of similar miscellaneous items that you can collect. There's traders where you can accept quests from. There's multiple maps with varying difficulty. And there's actually a PC version coming out very soon. A new trailer dropped for the PC version of this game right in the middle of all this controversy surrounding Escape from Tarkov, pretty much right after they released the Unheard edition. It's not out yet, it's coming soon, but this is definitely one to keep your eye on if you're into hardcore military-style extraction shooters. Number 8 is another upcoming game. It's not quite out yet, but it's a very high-profile one. This one has a lot of hype behind it. Gra Zone Warfare is kind of billing itself as the next evolution in extraction shooters. They're not specifically competing with Escape from Tarkov. The developers say that they don't intend on this game being the next, like, quote-unquote Tarkov killer. But even still, I do think this game is going to eat Escape from Tarkov's lunch a little bit. It is going to attract a lot of those players from Escape from Tarkov, especially now with all this Unheard Edition controversy. Gra Zone Warfare is an extraction shooter where players can choose to join one of 3 PMC factions. Each PMC faction has a base on a very large map. I think that the map is something like 30 square kilometers or something, and the bases are actually located physically on the map in a physical location, as opposed to being in like a menu off of the main title screen where you just click in and you equip gear for your character. You just click around and drag a gun over to your equipment slot and all that kind of stuff. You actually spawn in the map, and the entire equipment process, the entire process of talking to traders, accepting quests, outfitting your character, that happens all live while you're in the game, while you're already loaded in the game server. It is a PvE-focused game, but you will see other players when you go out into the game world, so there is a chance for some PvP. You fly out into the world with Little Bird helicopters, you get dropped off at a landing zone, and then you can make your way out to objective areas, complete your missions, fight the AI and maybe some other players if you're into that. Find another landing zone, get picked up by your Little Bird helicopter, and get flown back to your base, and that's where you can turn in your quests, upgrade your gear, buy more ammo, all that kind of stuff, and then go out again. Because of the large-scale persistent nature of the map, this game is looking to really change up the extraction shooter formula. The entire gameplay loop of this game is actually going to take place inside the live map while other things are happening. So there are other players out there. They're flying out, they're doing missions, they're fighting AI, they're fighting each other while you're in your base, equipping your weapons, equipping your armor, getting new quests, all that kind of stuff. This is a really exciting one for me personally. This game is going to shake up the formula quite a bit, and I can't wait to play this one as soon as it's out. Number 9 is the only option, really, if you're a VR gamer and you want a really good VR extraction shooter. Ghost of Tabor is about as close as you can get to Escape from Tarkov in VR. It's really the only option. And thankfully, it's an amazing option. This game is incredibly good. It's a PvPvE extraction shooter. You can play it solo or with friends if you like. There's multiple maps for you to go in and play. You can collect keycards to unlock high-value loot rooms. It's highly militarized with a lot of weapon customization, just like Tarkov. And I gotta say, it's a really unique experience in VR. I have played this game a little bit. I have some content on it, which I'll leave in the video description if you want to check out. But the intensity is just ratcheted up. If you thought Escape from Tarkov was intense, the intensity of Ghost of Tabor is kind of on another level. When you play something like this in VR, man, it's a totally different experience. And number 10 is kind of on the same level as Deep Rock Galactic, but it's still worth mentioning. Helldivers 2 is kind of a pseudo-extraction shooter. You don't actually lose your equipped gear when you die in this game, but you do lose the resources that you picked up in Raid. This is a PvE-only game. There's no PvP in here, but friendly fire is on, so watch where you're pointing your weapons. And how it works is you're basically on a spaceship, and while you're on the spaceship, you can equip your character with different armors, different weapons. You can unlock different weapons and cosmetics through a kind of battle pass system. And once you have your guy all equipped, you can go to a map table with your friends, choose a planet where you can go and do a bunch of missions. Currently, there are only 2 types of enemies in the game, but there's a constant power struggle between the players and these 2 enemy types. And every mission you complete in the game does contribute to that war effort. You pick a planet, you pick a mission, and then you drop down to the planet in these things called hell pods. And then you traverse around the planet, completing objectives, collecting resources, all that kind of stuff, all the while fighting the enemies and using these things called stratagems, which are basically things like napalm or bombing runs, gun runs, that kind of thing. And these are 100% necessary because you can get overwhelmed very quickly by both enemy types in this game. This is kind of on the same level as Deep Rock Galactic. It's super polished, really fun to play. It's not even a full price game. It's only like 40 bucks. This one comes really highly recommended for me. I have a lot of fun with this one. And just as an honorable mention, numbers 11 and 12, these are kind of in the same vein. These games are very similar to one another, but it's Dark and Darker and Dungeonborn. These are both very similar in their gameplay. They are first-person extraction shooters, quote-unquote, except they're fantasy-based. So instead of being like modern military, these are basically like Elder Scrolls or Lord of the Rings if they were extraction games, first-person extraction games. You can play as a handful of different kinds of characters. You can play as like a fighter, which is really good with short-handed bladed weapons or blunt weapons like short swords or maces. You can play as a mage, which is good with magic. The barbarian, who's good with two-handed weapons like broadswords and giant hammers and things like that. And besides that, the gameplay loop is a lot like all the other extraction games on this list. You go into your persistent stash and you equip your character with clothing, armor, weapons, support items like potions and spells. And then you go into a map and you fight other players and AI for loot and try to extract with all of it. Now, these games do work a little bit differently than something like, say, Escape from Tarkov or Arena Breakout. They function a little bit more like battle royales. So there is a storm circle that constantly closes on the map and closes in on all of the players as the gameplay goes on. Extractions in both games come in the form of portals that randomly spawn on the map. So you have to constantly be on the lookout for these portals, and as soon as you see them, you have to decide whether or not it's the right time for you to extract. This is a really different take on the extraction shooter genre. It's all been kind of like a militarized FPS up until these games came on the scene. Dark and Darker came out first a little while ago, maybe like just over a year ago, but it's been kind of wrapped up in this controversy. They were accused of using game assets that were made by somebody else, like copyright infringement or something like that. It was available on Steam for a while, but it's no longer available at the moment. I think you can go and still download and play it if you want through options like file sharing and things like that. But Dungeonborn is a newer option. I did play it, I did a stream on it, and I really liked it. It was incredibly polished. I had a lot of fun with it. Full release date or early access release date is not available yet. It's not yet available on Steam, but it's PC only, and it will be coming out eventually sometime in the near future. Okay guys, that's my list of 10 extraction shooters that you can play instead of Escape from Tarkov, with a couple of little extras in there. I don't know what else to say about Battlestate Games and Escape from Tarkov. I don't know if they can reverse this decision, reverse this new edition of the game. I don't think they can. I think it's going to stick around. They did end up putting out like a limited time access to some of these new exclusive features for the EOD owners, like limited access to the offline PvE modes, which I still think is ridiculous. Like, I feel really burned by Battlestate Games that I'm not going to be getting these new features and these new game modes. I feel like this is extra content that I should have been given for free as an EOD owner. They promised me that I would get all these future features and DLCs and stuff, and they're not sticking to their word. They're kind of screwing all of us EOD owners over. They're forcing us to pay $100 to upgrade to this new package, and anybody that's new to Escape from Tarkov, anybody that's coming in that's brand new, has to pay $250 for the unheard version to get all these features. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, guys, I hope you found something on this list that keeps you occupied, and hopefully you can have some fun with while Battlestate Games and Escape from Tarkov work their shit out. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. My name's Oscar Mikey. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like on it for me. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm gods, growing the channel, getting us discovered and all that. And if you're new to the channel, maybe consider getting subscribed too, so you don't miss any future content like this. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you in the next video.